Welcome back to Burn the Ship, the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs to professionals to help you go all in on your business. I'm your host, Ezra Brown, and without further ado, I'm going to allow my guest to introduce himself.
Hey, Thomas Dickerson, a.k.a. T Dizzle. I'm the marketing manager for PuroClean of Hiram. We do restoration and rebuild. We're the best, and we're local guys. So we try really hard to satisfy customers and deliver what we promise we will.
Absolutely. Thomas, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today, taking time out of your day to come sit down and spit a little bit of game about PuroClean and what you guys do. I appreciate it. And also, guys, this is T Dizzle. It ain't Thomas.
T Dizzle. It's not Thomas. It's T Dizzle.
That's
so
awesome.
I've got to get that out there.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. But no, I do appreciate you joining us. So we'll sit here and talk a little bit about, kind of your journey, what it's been like for you through business and also helping grow a business. So kind of tell me a little bit about your journey and what it's been like for you, through your professional career to get to this point. Yeah,
very interesting. My background is nowhere near what I'm doing now, but it is in dealing with people. So my entire life. So I went to try to work for Chick-fil-A when I was like 15 years old. And believe it or not, a student pastor got a hold of me, and I was a musician.
Yep.
And so he said, dude, I want to reach out to some students that like nobody even talks to and tell them about God. So I actually was in ministry for like decades before I started doing this. But one of the passions I had was just working with people, working with like middle and high school students. I did that for a long, long time. The last church I was a part of, one of the things I loved is they had like 40 students, but they weren't growing.
Right.
So I tried to figure out just crazy out of the box ways to grow that. It's similar to business in a sense in that you're trying to grow, but you're trying to like attract more people and reach out to them. So we grew, man, in like 18 months, we grew from like 40 to over 400 students.
That's awesome.
Doing things really out of the box because people can sense if you're genuine and you're passionate about what you do.
Right.
So
absolutely.
in that sense, that's sort of my background. I really spent the last few decades doing that. And then a lot of life changes in my life. And then I met Shane, and he was just kind of starting up this amazing restoration company, but didn't have anybody out there to promote it.
Right.
And I love the mission and vision of what he was talking about. So, dude, send me out there. Put me out in front of people, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the quality of work you do. People want to trust you, and they want to like actually see a physical person and the jobs that you do. So I've been hitting the road ever since for PuroClean.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, so, obviously coming from kind of that marketing background, obviously in a different sense, for a different, for a different gig, but it's kind of, I guess it translated in some way. What ways did you kind of go? How did you scale from 40 to 400 people and, in a short amount of time? What kind of different, like what were you doing differently than, say your competitors, I guess you would say?
Yeah, I think, like it's like one of the things that I wanted to do when I told the students, I was like, look, we want people to know God. So in that sense that we wanted the people, to know God, have a relationship with Jesus. So that was really our goal, is to reach the unreached, people that would never step foot in a church. And there's a lot of people that would never do that. Like I don't do the religion thing or whatever their views are on that. Absolutely. What I wanted to do is connect them with a God that actually loved them. And so I started using Instagram, and that's the T Dizzle thing came out of that.
Okay.
So none of my students really ever even knew my name.
Okay.
They didn't know how old I was. I had the energy, like I had more energy than any of my students.
Absolutely.
So as long as I kept that up there, I would leave that a mystery, and then they would just call me T Dizzle. So I'd get like on Instagram and be like, "What's up, everybody? T Dizzle here," and I'd have like flying donuts in the background. And so what we would do is I'd empty out our entire auditorium. I'd rent like a bunch of inflatables. I'd give an iPad away, and I'd have an artist come in, like an amazing like Christian rapper or something come in, and try to just promote things to attract people to come in to be able to connect, in a way that they would never step foot in a church before. Right. And that kind of caught fire because our students really knew that every Wednesday night we were going to do something crazy, something out of the box, crazy games or whatever. At the end of the day, though, at the end of the night, they would get to hear about how to have a relationship with God. So that's kind of, that was sort of really my passion, and still is. I started a nonprofit about 20 years ago to reach the unreached. So I've been to Africa, I've been to India, I've been to Sierra Leone, Uganda, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I've been spending the last 20 years traveling the world, also to reach people that really, just didn't know that people cared about them, or that there was a God that they could actually know. So I've spent some time in village huts and all kind of, crazy places around the world. So it's funny how your life can take in directions that you never really imagined.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. See, I didn't know that about you anyway.
You had no idea.
No, and that's awesome. That's really cool, because that's honest work there. That's really good, like, a good thing that you're doing for the communities and things that you're going to, because I'd take it y'all going and building wells, doing things like that on top of, obviously spreading the word and spreading the good book.
Yeah, well, one of the things that even Shane and I talked about, even with PuroClean, is just how can we reach our community? How can we reach kids that are struggling or families that can't afford a backpack? Or how can we build this business and really do great restoration work and rebuild work and form that integrity with people and that trust, which takes time. If
Absolutely.
you don't have a brand or they don't know who you are, social media can do so much, but I'm a big face-to-face guy. So I drop in offices like I do with you guys all the time. And there's a huge energy in this office. You can tell there's a synergy here where there's a mission and vision that's so clear. But people want that interaction. They want to feel love. They want to feel like they can trust you, and you want to give them that quality work in what we do. But big vision, even globally, was that Shane and I would be able to, and we have been able to, sponsor people overseas.
Right.
Like I just met with a guy from Uganda that happened to be here. He's a pastor there, and he has teachers that are trying to educate these kids that literally, a lot of the kids that go to the school are orphans.
Right.
So they have no parents. So the teachers are not just teaching them an education, but they are actually housing these orphans in Uganda, and they stay overnight and then get up in the morning and teach them. And then my wife actually helped raise money to plant a cornfield. So they're eating off of the land, a sustainable food system. My wife did that years ago before I even met her. We both met each other a few years ago, but we're both doing mission work all in similar places in the world. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Shane and I's vision was, how can we reach people with quality work in our community, but also have a community impact and a global impact through what we do through restoration, which that's bigger than just, hey, I can come clean up your flood or your fire or your biohazard situation. This is like, hey, let's impact our community in a huge way.
No, that's awesome. That makes me want to support you guys even more than I already did. So that is incredible. What do you think has been a kind of a testament? Obviously, when you stepped into the business with Shane at PuroClean, is that my other guy Shane is the owner of PuroClean.
Yes.
But when you stepped in with him, obviously he was new into the new endeavor, but you were also had no restoration background.
No.
What was it like for you trying to scale and grow your side of the business when you first stepped in? Was it just kind of throwing darts at a wall and seeing what stuck, or what was kind of going on?
Well, it's interesting because just to give you a little bit of Shane George's background, he has an incredible background. He's been in restoration for over 20 years. So he was a manager for one of the bigger restoration companies. One of the things that really convicted him was that these bigger companies were cutting corners. So if you call and you have like a water emergency, or my basement is flooded, or I've got this fire situation or whatever, it was like, hey, well, we may get to you next Tuesday.
Right.
So that Shane was like, that cannot happen. Number two, they were overcharging for things that they didn't actually need to do.
Right.
So that's what I call like predatory business. Predatory restoration is when you come in and you assess the situation, but you're charging the insurance company or the customer for things that actually don't need to be done in the first place. So that's an integrity issue. So Shane said, how can I start a restoration company that has integrity? We say what we mean what we say. We hold the hand of the customer. We educate them on what's going on if their house is flooded, or if their sewage, came out in the basement, or if they had a kitchen fire. We had to educate the customer, and here's why you want to go hand in hand with us and walk that customer through the entire process.
Right.
So he has a tremendous background. Also, he's been a firefighter for 20 years. So in Carroll County and in Paulding County, he's been an actual firefighter. So he's an expert in fire damage, mold, water damage. He has seen and experienced in serving the community as a first responder. So that was a really interesting thing. So I kind of caught that vision and began to learn sort of the trial by fire. I just started meeting with people. You can learn a lot by asking insurance agents and customers questions.
Absolutely.
What do you need from us?
Absolutely.
What has not worked with other restoration companies that you've been working with? What can I do better? What would allow you to want to partner with me versus somebody else? And I immediately started to pick up on a few things. Number one, they said response time. Do you answer your phone? So I put my cell phone number on my T Dizzle business cards.
Right.
You can call me. You can text me 24/7, and we have a 24/7 number. So responsive time. I want to get on the phone with that customer, because when somebody calls us, they're in the middle of a tragedy. They're in the middle of, oh my gosh, I just got back from vacation and my entire basement is flooded. I've got furniture down there. I've got, priceless things that I want to keep from my family heirlooms or whatever. So I get on the phone with them and say, look, we're going to walk through this. So there's a human element of this. Not only can we come help you, responsive time. Shane goes out to every single house or commercial property when we get that call, usually the same day, if not within the next morning, depending on the level of what's going on. So responsive time, I knew that the quality of work that we do, not overcharging people, not trying to charge that extra $20,000 for something that we knew doesn't even need to be done, or telling the customer, hey, you really don't need to file a claim. This is just not worth it. You're going to end up paying a lot more. So let us work with you to figure out how to fix the situation and assess the situation. Another big one was free assessments. It's free for us to come out.
You're not going to charge like $1,000 for me to come out.
Exactly. People are like, how much is it going to cost? I mean, I don't know if I can afford for Shane to come out and check this out, or our tech teams to come out. It's free. So the very least, we can at least come out and give you an education on what needs to be done, be super honest with people. And then I think one of the other things is just speaking the language of the adjusters in the insurance business. So we use the same software, Xactimate, and our estimates are always right within a few dollars of what that adjuster. They love that. Versus other companies come in and like, dude, why are you $25,000 above what PuroClean of Hiram just gave us? So they like dealing with us. So I always tell people, give us one shot. I learned very quickly, like it's very, very hard. You know, if you do sales or marketing, and they have people coming into their offices all the time, what stands us apart? And then the T-Dizzle thing.
It's just making that personable connection, though.
And coming in with passion and excitement and making people feel, passionate about what they do, hearing their mission and vision in their offices of what they do or customers, and just empowering people and saying, hey, why don't we partner together? This is a partnership. I want to go for the long haul, not just the quick dollar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can see that, and it makes sense now knowing more about your background. It makes sense of why you are so, up and happy. You know what I mean? Just going. It makes sense though. Just that background, and when you got the Holy Spirit and you feel good. You walk around well. But what you guys do is very similar to how we do it. We always say we want to hold your hand. And then it's give us one shot. Ours is just let us take you on a date. We're not trying to get married. Just want to take you on a date. To where I want you to see kind of what's going on here, and I can appreciate how that's kind of worked in business for you. But how much easier has it made it for you going and pitching to these insurance people and to all these, to regular, when you go to your networking groups, how much easier is it to pitch your product knowing that you're going to beat whatever other restoration companies kind of around you?
It's great in that sense. I mean, it's competitive like anything else. Like any company, you guys are in your merchant services, and you have insurance companies. I mean, you have like all these different companies that are competing within the same, circumference or radius. So it is challenging. It is challenging. I think to get their attention, to grab. So what I find too is if I go in an office or I'm talking with a customer, it's like, if I can put them at ease to talk to me and reach them on a personal level, the longer that I can sit with them, the more comfortable they become. And then it may be months down the road before I get a phone call from that agent. Hey, I'm going to trust you with. So I had one of the biggest agents for a big insurance company. He's the biggest in the state of Georgia as an agent. And so I just said, look, let me get a lunch with you. It's almost impossible to get a lunch with this guy. But he gave me an hour and a half of his time. And one of the things I learned too is ask questions. Learn and glean from other people that are doing their job at a top level. So I'm asking this agent, tell me everything you know. What makes you the number one agent in your insurance company in the state of Georgia? And so the more he talked, and usually I thought maybe this guy might give me 40 minutes. He gave me over an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes of his time. Why did he do that? Because he could tell I was passionate to learn about his industry in order to make our services better for him. Well, I didn't hear or get a call from him for months. So maybe 6 months later, but 8 o'clock one night on a Wednesday, I get a call. Hey, I've got a client whose pipe just bursted in the attic, and it has leaked all the way through the first floor into his newly renovated kitchen, and the water is flowing down his driveway, and he's about to close on his house in 2 weeks, and he just drove over and discovered this flood. He's like, is it even possible that you guys would go out to Roswell tonight from where you're at? I said, we will be there within the hour. Done and done. I said, I told you if you call my phone. So I called Shane. I said, can we get a team out there? He literally called the team out, got in the truck, went out there, and we helped, restore that guy's house and fixed everything and got him back up to where he needed to be. It didn't happen within, the week that he was trying to sell the house because there's just too much work to be done. It's a major, major flood, a major issue. But the point was, if you make a promise to somebody, deliver on what you're going to do, and that you may not see that come, to fruition until months down the line. So that's the interesting thing. I describe it as putting a lot of fishing lines out in the ocean and just waiting to catch. You're waiting for that phone call. But there are days and there are times where we don't get as many phone calls, and then all of a sudden we'll get 5 or 6 in a row. So you have to kind of be patient. There are days where I'm not as motivated to go out, and do that because you may not get the time of day. People may just completely brush you off and want you to walk out the office. But you can't let obstacles deter you if you believe in what you do and you believe in the integrity of whatever you're doing.
Right.
I did that in ministry. I believe that I really wanted the students to come to know Jesus. I felt passionate. I used my own testimony of where I came from and my background, which is a whole different story, and how I actually was absolutely convinced that you could actually have a relationship with God through Jesus. And so I use my personal story to say, look, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here literally to tell you a message that you can have eternal life. So I was just as passionate about that. That's why I go to Africa. That's why I go into some villages that people say, are you crazy going into that village? Do you have any idea? They're going to kill you. And I was like, look, God's got his hand on me. He told me to go do that. And so I tried to use all those things and where God led me in that ministry journey and still doing that to meet people. And would you know that this is how personal it can become. There have been times I've been in an office where an agent will be like, just getting to talk, and I kind of tell my background, a little bit of my story. And they'll just start crying. I have a daughter that has completely wandered away and they're addicted to drugs or whatever. I was like, hey, do you mind if I just pray for you right now in this office?
Right. And
that breaks social norm in our society that I would be
100%. But
you might look at me and just be like, what are you, but look, it's happened time and time again. I thought, what am I doing out here in a car doing, marketing sales for restoration? Because it's very different than my background and where I thought God was going to lead me. But it's actually turned into some very interesting conversations with people and meeting them where they are in their life.
And your hand stays in that same pot no matter where you're at. It's because that's what That's what God wants you to be doing.
Yeah.
So and that's crazy, but goes back to also is breaking that society norm, but it also goes back to the insurance, where this started with the insurance agent is the like, know, and trust. You sit down, like you said, people want to talk about themselves.
Yes.
As much as I like to talk to somebody, but I would rather talk about myself than hear what they got to say. But that's every human being. That's the nature of being a human.
Yeah.
And if you really do ask people questions about themselves, what they do, they're going to give you every bit of information. And they're going to be like, wait. What can I do to help you? Because they've realized, I'm sure when you sat down with that guy, once you had asked him a question, he's like, well, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And he was like, when you were like, well, this is, anytime this happens, give my number a call. And then, so what, it took a couple months, but he was like, I know T Dizzle. He thought about it. He's like, T Dizzle right now, I call him. And it helps too, you've got your own little nickname to marketable, and then you're likable guy and you're sitting there, bubbly, come in, hit on the doors. You got to think, most people don't do that anymore. It's cold call. Hey, do you need a restoration company? Yeah. There's 75 other ones, in my little halo here. So it's that thing that kind of makes you guys stand apart, which is awesome. And I really do appreciate how you're going about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of people just be like, that's old school. You don't do that anymore. Like, we don't need you to do that. You have Instagram, you have social media. Like, why are you going? Believe it or not, even as much as we're on social media, people still want to be seen and they want to be heard. And so that's the human element of situations. So I'll throw a few out there, like what we do. Like, a lot of it's education. So what is restoration? So I'm going to give a few examples of kind of what PuroClean of Hiram does. We, when we get a call, it's usually like I said, a pipe burst and there's flooding. It could be in their kitchen or it could be in a basement or whatever. And so we come in to restore that, to fix all those things. There could be mold present. So we're experts in, we have all these technical readers to actually go into the walls and measure the moisture. Mold is a very tricky thing because people think you can just go get Kills and put it on it and it's gone. And it really does not. So it's about education. Mold is a very dangerous thing. If you don't deal with that immediately and start to deal with that. So we will drape everything around a home, or in some major cases, the insurance company may have to put you up in a home for a little bit till we do that. So we'll treat the mold, and it can be airborne. It can cause respiratory problems. So that's an example of a water damage issue.
Right.
We deal with kitchen fires. We had a claim that came in a few weeks ago where a lady's kitchen caught on fire as a grease fire. Another thing I learned about fire jobs is people don't realize that even if it's isolated to the kitchen, that smoke that goes everywhere puts out cancerous carcinogens.
Does it?
And that fire smoke goes to everything, your possessions, your books, your clothes, and goes throughout your home. All that needs to be treated professionally. And so part of it was talking with this woman who happens to be on oxygen. And I talked with the insurance agent, said, we actually need to put her up in a home for a few days so that we can actually go in. And so what may seem like it's just isolated to a kitchen is actually spread to her drywall and to her. So what we do is we literally go in and professionally take those possessions out, and we take them to a warehouse, and their clothes. We have a special detergent that we wash. We wash all the clothes. We literally go through every book and every book page and clean all the contents, because touching those things can actually cause cancer. So that's one thing that I learned in the last couple of years. I thought, I had no idea that just an isolated kitchen fire can spread that smoke and spread cancerous, carcinogens throughout the whole house.
I just learned that now. And then with PuroClean, I meant to ask you this too. Do you guys do full packouts? So say that the water's damaged, or fire damaged, whatever. Y'all come in, pack everything out, take it with you guys. Either store it in y'all's own facility, or put it up somewhere that you guys kind of work with. So with that, is that like something where insurance covers that, or y'all?
They do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I would say to people too, part of the education is don't try to do it yourself. Don't try to fix it yourself. The sooner you call PuroClean of Hiram, if you call us, Shane is so good. We work with insurance companies all the time, and we do this day in and day out. So the sooner we can get to a job site, there are cases where if there's water damage and we catch it within like the first 24 hours, and as soon as we can get there, we can actually save your hardwoods. We have technology that we put on the hardwoods that literally soaks it up, and we can dry that out. But the longer you wait to call, the harder it is to actually restore and the things that have been damaged. But we will do packouts. Packouts is a big deal. We had a guy a couple of weeks ago whose entire basement, it had furniture, had a grand piano, all kind of stuff. The entire thing completely flooded. So we had to get 2 pods, full-size pods. We do the pack out. We treat every piece of furniture very carefully and put that away, and then go in to restore that and do all the restoration work. And then we do rebuild. So the insurance company and customers like working with us because they don't have to call another company to come.
You'll do it from start to finish.
Yeah. And Shane's been flipping houses for over 20 years. So he's very familiar. We work with great general contractors. We do roofing. We do siding. We do anything with a house top to bottom PuroClean can do. So that's awesome. A pretty big deal.
And so this one right here just popped up is probably a good one for the consumers that are watching, or the person that'd be your client, is you should never file the claim until you guys come through and kind of tell you, hey, this is kind of what's going on, or is it something that you do before you guys get there?
Yeah, it's interesting. Most people will call their insurance or insurance agent pretty quickly. Just the dynamic of, you can certainly call us first and tell us what insurance you're with, and that's the thing. We work with all insurance companies, and depending on like I said, the level of what's happening in your home may warrant a claim. It depends on your deductible. So we kind of, like I said, a lot of this is education.
Right.
And I've been shocked. See, I'm educating myself, so I have really immersed myself as just being a sponge of information on what restoration is, all those things. I learned the fire cancerous carcinogen by a phone call that came from an agent that said, I have a client whose house burned last night. And so it's a Saturday morning. I called Shane and we went right out to the property. And that's the thing. There's a human element. See, when you drive up there, it's not just, oh, here's another fire job for us. There is a family that has lost their home or part of their home. And so I've learned that like it's not too different than what I was doing before, just meeting those people where they are. But Shane began to explain to me and walking through the home, and it's amazing walking with him as a firefighter, which is what makes us different than other restoration companies. Like really, really knows his stuff.
He's had his hand on that pulse more than one time.
Not only
both sides of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's really amazing to kind of hear. He could tell me where the fire originated. He could tell me how far the smoke went, what, it was just amazing learning, like, this is how far the smoke is going, this is what, and so we had to literally, the family's natural instinct was to start cleaning and get brooms and stuff. And Shane was like, please don't do that. So let us walk you through which possessions to kind of keep, and let's work with the insurance agent. So you're asking me, like, who should you call first? You could certainly call us first, and we will just say, who's your insurance agent? Hey, chances are we probably know you, your agent or your adjuster. If you talk to the insurance company, tell them I want to use PuroClean. Because that's important. Who you use, that's another thing oh my gosh, we have been called into so many jobs in the last 2 years of people picking the wrong company, or their insurance agent insurance agent will call a company,
somebody that they network with, or somebody that's just trying to throw a bone to.
Yeah, they just throw a bone to them. But like literally, I've had adjusters call me and say that restoration company did such a bad job. We're going to shut them down. Can you guys come in and pick up where they left off and actually do the job that they were supposed to do? Guess what happened? That some of those were my first calls. Now they use us from now on.
Right.
Because they don't want to be overcharged as an insurance agency, and customers certainly don't want them to be longer than they need to be. Yeah. There were some restoration companies that would show up, put their fans up to try to dry something off, and they wouldn't hear from or see that restoration company for 4 or 5 days. That's not okay.
No.
We come on site, we tell you exactly how long those fans will be there, and you're going to see us or talk to us every single day until the job is done. That's what I started to find. What are these other restoration companies doing or not doing, and what can stand us apart from the other ones?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is most definitely it, because you hear the horror stories going out networking, things like that of just any business, not restoration, not plumbers, not a merchant service, but it's all business. It's that same sense of, I want to hold your hand, but if you're there, it kind of makes that sense of security, but also that, hey, I want this. I want to find somebody else to get business for them, even though it is a sense of tragedy. But it's like, hey, I want to give PuroClean, I want to give Shane, or I want to give Thomas that bit of business, if I can, back to them on top of what I'm already giving to them.
Right, because what do you don't want a phone call as a customer or an agent or an adjuster that things are not going well. Usually if that agent or adjuster is getting a phone call, it's because something's not going well. I love it when they don't get any calls.
Right.
They say, look, I got a client who just had this happened about a month ago, septic tank overflowed, came through the toilet. It's kind of gross. That's what we do, a lot of stuff that people don't want to do.
I did septic all through high school.
Came through the toilet, and literally there is biohazard and sewage entirely through that bottom finished basement. And so we got that call to come in. It was a major job. Incidentally, that was an agent that I had been building a relationship for like over a year. And it was just like, I'm going to give you this shot.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so Shane hit a grand slam. He never heard from the customer other than, we loved PuroClean. We loved PuroClean of Hiram. Shane hit a grand slam on this. He's restored everything back to the way it was and better. And so that's exactly what we want. We don't want those phone calls to come to the office. But I think that's how we're trying to, in the last 3 years, redefine for people, educating them on what restoration services are and rebuild, and get to know agents personally and just be like, hey, I know your kids, I know your family. Give me that one referral, big or small, and let me show you what we can do. Should lead to more opportunities for us to help your future clients.
Absolutely. Because when you see them at the ball field or you see them at the school, you want to be like, "That's T Dizzle. They work. They work on my house." Well, what does he do? Is he on a construction? No, they do PuroClean. They do restoration work.
It sounds ridiculous. I'm thinking about doing like a '90s pose on my business card, just like something crazy with the old '90s jeans and laying down on the ground on my elbow. But anyway, I'm trying to upgrade. But you have to think of things that stand out to people. So T Dizzle was kind of the thing that, like, if I just come in like every other sales and marketing person, like, it's a forgettable thing, but you come in like, what's up, everybody? I brought y'all some cookies. T Dizzle's here. Remember to call T Dizzle if you need something. And you sit there and
like, as you walk through the office this morning, you and Amanda sit there, talk about the kids, talk about whatnot. You're kind of getting to know, and then y'all didn't even know y'all got a similar story of 10 years apart on your oldest
and see,
and
we can help promote your business.
Right.
We can promote insurance agents. If we're in a sort of an area of Atlanta and we have a great relationship with an insurance agency there, let us promote you, because people are constantly looking for reliable, trustworthy companies. And so I love the part of building businesses and communities together. And then, like I said, big picture, we can impact the world. When I was sitting down with Pastor Daniel, this Ugandan pastor who my wife's been working with for a long time, and it was amazing because they showed us a picture of that field where they plant corn, and the kids are so poor, honestly, they cannot afford food.
Right.
So Jennifer and her nonprofit years ago, my wife decided to raise that money so that they could have a self-sustaining crop. Well, they were not only were able to grow that crop, but they showed us a picture. They were able to purchase more land. So as far as you could see, all the way to a tree line are just rows and rows of corn, and those kids are eating that food and self-sustaining whatever. So we're gonna actually help Pastor Daniel out with some other things because those teachers, they can hardly afford to even pay the teachers / caretakers for these orphans. I was like, dude, what do you need?
They're probably getting paid nothing in it. You know what I mean? And they're putting it all back into their community or those kids. You know, and they're not leaving anything for themselves. So that's just
bro. I mean, when you so I've seen it with my own eyes. I think that's what's opened my eyes too. Is we're so blessed in the United States of America that, like, even as we deal with people's tragedies and restoration, whatever, there are some people in our community and there are people around the world that you just would not believe what they're living in, like literal leaf and grass huts or homes made of tin with dirt floors. I have been with the poorest of the poor. I did my first mission trip was to Haiti, and so we went and ministered to over like 1,200 orphans. I mean, these are kids. There are, I think, over 450 to 1 million orphans in Haiti alone.
Right.
And so you have to think about it. These kids have no parents. They have no way to have food. So that'll open up your heart and your mind to see the bigger picture of, like, not only do I want them to know that God loves them, but I want to find ways to reach them practically. A lot of these kids can't afford an education. So that's a vision for my wife and I. I know it's a vision of Shane and PuroClean that we would just reach the world through the success of our company. But it's one office at a time, one person at a time to try to cast it. Isn't that funny how, like,
it's crazy
you
how
think
God
it's
puts
about
people,
business.
God puts the right people in your life at the right time. Just like-minded, you, your wife, that story in itself, crazy. And then how you come about with Shane too, because I know Shane's a very God-fearing man as well. Which is, it's crazy how it all comes about and how it just, and we're sitting here right now talking about it.
Yeah, and so be intentional. Like, sometimes I'll be driving around just like, God, put me in the path of people today that really need not only our services, but may need a personal interaction. And you just, there's a lot of hurting people. And if you've been through hurt and you've been through isolation and pain, you know that it's that one person that comes up to you and might give you a word of encouragement that you didn't even expect. So I think I have to constantly shift my mind from what are our sales, how many restoration jobs did we do this month? It's like, and just say, God, you bring the increase. I'll go out there and try to be faithful to build this company in your name and just put some people in front of me. Does it happen every single day in the same way? No. But I'm always looking and listening for, like, people that I'm in the office that might actually just might need an encouragement day. Like, there was an agent that she just purchased a car. She's got 3 kids and like she got in a car accident. And so just saying, hey, you're going to be all right. Things are going to be okay.
You're going to make it.
She's like, I needed this today. Thank you for bringing these cookies. Like, I've had the worst week ever. And so it's just those little encouragements, and just dropping in every once in a while to say hi goes beyond. So what happens is when they do get a call from a client, they're like, I'm going to call T Dizzle. Because I know him and I know the work that they do over at PuroClean.
That is a fact. And Teals, the last 2 things I ask every one of my guests. I got a good idea what the first answer is going to be. One is going to be, what do you want to do with your time? You and Shane got PuroClean running. Your time is free. All the kids are out of the house, 20 years from now. So your time, what do you want to do with your time? Do you want to travel the world? Obviously, you want to keep ministering people, kind of grow in the word. What is that you want to do?
You mean when the kids are all gone and retired or something?
Yeah, you're retired. Do you want to start a band? You want to go live on the you go live in Australia?
Funny too, I used to be in the recording industry. That's a whole nother life that I had actually signed a record deal with a guy named Edwin McCain, who was a major artist, had a few #1 hits in the 90s. Some of y'all know who that is, but had a studio in Greenville, South Carolina. So I spent a whole few years of my life in the recording industry, recorded a few albums. So you won't see T Dizzle on Spotify, but you will see Thomas Dickerson on there. You can actually go on there. Actually, there's 3 albums on there, and if you download those songs, all the proceeds go to help me get to the mission field, or to help people like I just mentioned, Pastor Dan, who's doing an orphanage/school in Uganda.
Oh, that's awesome.
100% of all those downloads if you download
on
those
Spotify?
albums. Yeah, Thomas Dickerson. You can go to Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere that you can download music, those albums are on there.
We'll throw those down below.
So anyway, that's a whole different life that I was doing, a segment of my life. But I got so passionate about trying to reach the unreached and go into some of these villages around the world that's a passion. So yeah, my answer to that is I could see Jennifer and I literally pouring ourselves into the poorest of the poor in our community.
That's awesome.
And just, what do you need? How can we help you? Single mothers, families going through divorce like both of us went through. And it's like, there is hope for the hopeless. I think that's what we would do. Trying to get more food to the kids in Uganda. She did work in Ukraine, and she did 14 trips to help Ukraine orphans. And so she has a passion for that. It's wild how we live very similar lives, went through a very difficult time, went through divorces. Our kids went through it all. And then at just the right time, we met at a divorce support group at a church. And just, it was amazing meeting each other and going, oh my gosh, we were meant to be together. And I was like, you do work in Sierra Leone, West Africa? Because, yeah, I do work in Uganda. So do I. It turns out I met her contact, Pastor Daniel, just a few days ago, who knows my contact an hour away, a guy named Moses Kalanzi, who I helped reach his lost villages, and we helped plant the first church in his village. And those guys know each other. So these are like worlds, 8,000 miles away, worlds coming together that we never even thought possible. And so I think that's probably an answer is as we see PuroClean grow, and I do believe it'll grow and be successful, God will bless that, and in reaching this community, I would love to reach the world and reach the unreached. That would be my answer to that.
That's awesome. That is incredible. I appreciate you sharing that. And then the last thing I have is the podcast name is Burn the Ship. So Burn the Ship is going all in on your business. Do you know where the story comes from or where the mantra kind of originates?
I have. Yeah, I love that.
You know who it is?
No, tell me more details. But I've definitely heard that. Yeah, there's an artist that wrote a song about Burn the Ship.
So Hernan Cortez lands in modern-day Mexico from the New World, and coming to the New World. And whenever he does, he made his men take off all the supplies and disassemble the ships, burn the ships on the beaches, like the structure of the ships. And it was a sign there to his people that we're going to make it there, we're going to die trying. We do the same sense in business, entrepreneurship. Obviously, you had came from a place where you had been doing well and doing what you were doing, and you stepped into a new role and a new position with a new company.
Yep.
You burned the ship. What was the experience, and the emotions behind burning the ship for you?
Oh, well, it was, going through in my position as a pastor and going through a situation that was really out of my control, where my kids were not being treated right by my ex. That was a very, very difficult time, resigning from, a church and just not knowing exactly where I was going to turn. That was sort of the precipice for me, sort of like literally in a position of how am I going to support these kids? And then God brought Jennifer into my life, and just being around people that had been through something I've been through was extremely important, because otherwise I would have been isolated going, dude,
it's just
I'm
me.
going
it's just
through
me.
this.
Something's wrong with me,
Yeah, bro. So I just say to people, like, there are stigmas that we have in culture, where even being a pastor for decades and going through divorce, and so I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I never promoted divorce, but there are some circumstances where you go through that, and I had to go fight for the protection of my kids.
Right.
And so I was able to go before a judge, and the judge handed me physical custody of all three of my children. And so same thing with my wife Jennifer, and her going through that, she got physical custody of her three kids. And so I saw God put all that together, and then at just the right time, Jennifer says, I know a guy named Shane George that's starting this company, called PuroClean, and we met at, ironically, a Firehouse Subs.
That's crazy.
Fireman.
Yeah, of course.
And I just said, look, I am a passionate people person, and I will be the mouthpiece. Once he told me the mission and vision of his company and what he wanted to do, I said, send me out there. I will just hit the road. So that was a burn the ships moment for me. I went all in. I was like, you put your faith in me and send me out there. He's like, look, I can't even do this. I'll do this, and you just go out there, and I trust in you or whatever. So that's kind of how the dynamic of that relationship has been ever since. Is we did kind of burn the ships. He went all in.
Absolutely.
To start a company is a major deal. So that falls on his shoulders even more than fall. But when you're fighting for a company and fighting for an owner that does integrity, it makes it easy to go around offices and say, trust me, you do not want to go in that other direction. You definitely want to go with Shane. Let him come explain all this to you. Are there a lot of things that he goes out to where we don't necessarily get the job? Right. Yes, but what if they need us a year down the road or 2 years down the road? All the time that we spend is worth it. So that was a burn the ships moment.
That's awesome.
And to see kind of God, what do we need? We need food, clothes, and shelter. So I've been able to feed my family, feed my 6 kids, and they eat a whole lot because we have 3 teenagers in the house. And so I've learned, seeing how poor people live in parts of the world, just try to be thankful when you wake up that you have a place to sleep, you have air conditioning, you have food, you have clothes on your back. At the end of the day, I'm thankful for that I've been able to, God's been able to provide through this job to do that. So it's more than a job, but like I said, it's weird. People don't even know what restoration is, but it is. It's like sewage, biohazard, fire, water damage. And literally now I'm a yes man. So even if you don't think you're not sure if we do something, I'm going to tell you, yes, we do. And chances are we do it, or we know somebody close in our network that actually can do it. So when in doubt, call us. Or go check out our Facebook, which is
I was about to say, tell the people where to find you guys.
PuroClean of Hiram. Hiram. So there are different franchises. PuroClean is a national company. There are different franchises throughout Atlanta, but we're your local guys. Like we service all of Metro Atlanta, and so you know me now. You know T Dizzle, so that's what stands us out apart. You know I'm going to respond to your phone call, but it's PuroClean of Hiram. You know we have a 5-star Google review, and you can find us. Really, that's probably the quickest and easiest way to find us through that. But you know we're here to serve the community. We're here to help you in a time where you really need that help. And like I said, it's free for us to come out. So if you have a flooded basement or a fire in your kitchen or mold in your crawl space, which we do, we go encapsulate crawl spaces and kind of take that mold out and treat that the right way. We do all that. Okay. So we're here to serve the community.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you so much for joining us today on Burn the Ship, and I'm going to leave you with the last word for our people.
Oh, man, yeah. Listen, just know that God cares about you. Know that there are businesses like MP Group here and PuroClean of Hiram where this is beyond business for us. We're here to serve you in this community in whatever capacity, even if it never translates into the actual businesses of what we do. Right. I can speak for Ezra. I can speak for me. We're here to just let you know that we care about you. We care about your community, your families. This is really interesting time that we're living in right now. And just know that you're cared for. And if you ever need those services, call us and we will be there. We're 24/7 and we're here to help you through whatever you're going through.
Absolutely. T-Zills, I appreciate it. Burn the Ship.